Oh, hi. I'm sorry, I didn't even see you there. I was like busy and stuff on my research about tax. Like, where does it go? Does it go to our government and stuff, or just to do fake pigeons and stuff? Kidding aside, I'm John Benedict Ebol. I am your reporter for today about taxations during Japanese and post-war era. And before we go to the topic, let us know what taxation or taxes means because I know we're all in the same age, like 18, 24, 22, and we don't do taxes yet, but we should know what taxes is. So, taxes is a term for when a taxing authority, usually a government, imposes a financial obligation on its citizens or residents. Paying taxes to governments or officials has been a mainstay on civilization since ancient times. There are so many types of taxes. This includes income, corporate, capital, gains, property, inheritance, and sales. So when we talk about taxations and stuff, it all deals with money and the holding of the money by the government. And I hope you know taxation right now because this is going to be a part of our report today about taxations during Japanese and post-war era for today. And I hope you learned something from it for my report and I hope you enjoy. Taxations during Japanese and post-war era. Taxation during Japanese occupation. Historical studies about Japanese occupation in the Philippines during World War II often focus more on events that happened in Luzon. There are namely the Declaration of Manila as an open city, the Valerius defense in Bataan, the dehumanizing death march of Allied defenders followed by the downfall of the Corregidor. The formation of the collaborationist government led Jose P. Laurel under Japanese rule and later the liberation of Manila in 1945. However, there are only limited engaged with a discussion about the events in the rural areas of the Philippines. With the mention of the city of Bataan, we can recall the disasters happening during that time, where 76,000 starving and sick American and Filipino defenders in Bataan surrendered on April 9, 1942. With the fall of the Bataan and the surrender of the island bastion of the Corregidor, a government under Japanese was established in the country. Under the Japanese regime, 1942 to 1945, the Bureau of Internal Revenue was combined with the Custom Office and was headed by a Director of Custom and Internal Revenues. Facts during Japanese occupation. An estimated 527,000 Filipinos, both military and civilians, had been killed from all the causes of this. Between 131,000 and 164,000 were killed in 72 war crime events. During World War II in the Philippines, the occupying Japanese government issued a fiat currency in several denominations. This is known as the Japanese government issued Philippine fiat peso. When the Philippines gained its independence on July 4, 1946 from the United States, the Bureau of Internal Revenue was eventually re-established separately. This led to a reorganization on October 1, 1947 by the virtue of Executive Order Number 94, wherein the following were undertaken. Number 1. The accounting unit and the revenue accounts and statistical divisions were merged into one. All records in the records section under the administrative division were consolidated. And lastly, number 3, all legal works were centralized in the division. Revenue Regulation Number V2 dated October 23, 1947 divided the country into 31 inspection units, each of which was under a provincial revenue agent, except in certain special units, which were headed by a city revenue agent or supervisor for distilleries and tobacco factories. The second major reorganization of the Bureau took place on January 1, 1951, through the passage of Executive Order Number 392. Three new departments were created, namely Legal, Assessment, and Collection. On the latter part of January of the same year, Memorandum Order Number V188 created the Withholding Tax Unit, which was placed under the Income Tax Division of the Assessment Department. Simultaneously, the implementation of the withholding tax system was adopted by virtue of Republic Act 690. This method of collecting income tax upon receipt of the income resulted to the collection of approximately 25% of the total income collected during the said period. The third major reorganization of the Bureau took effect on March 1, 1954. Through the Revenue Memorandum Order RMO number 41, this led to the creation of the following offices. Number 1, Specific Tax Division. Number 2, Litigation Section. Number 3, Processing Section. And number 4, Office of the City Revenue Examiner. By September 1, 1954, a training unit was created through RMO number V447. Hi, I know it's me again. You don't want to see my face and stuff and cool, but I just want to clarify things about the words that I'm saying for you so that you will understand about it later. Just for example, when we talk about specific tax division, I mentioned about it. We want to know what is specific tax division or what is tax specific. Specific tax refers to the exercise tax imposed which is based on weight or volume capacity or any other physical unit of movements or measurements. Now let's go to the one I mentioned, the litigation section. This focuses more on the interests and problems of trial lawyers and has active programs to promote advocacy training, law reform, and professional development. This section is more focused on the trials that is happening when it comes to taxes and stuff, the interest and other things. And that is what I'm trying to say here, and I hope you get. As an initial step towards decentralization, the Bureau created its first two regional offices in Cebu and in Davao on 20th of July 1955 per RMO number V536. Each regional office was headed by a regional director assisted by chief of five branches, namely number 1, tax audit, number 2, collection, number 3, investigation, number 4, legal, and number 5, administrative. The creation of the regional offices marked the division of the Philippine Islands into three revenue regions. Yeah, I know, it's me again, your cool professor kind of stuff, whatever. But I'm here again to actually give you the definitions of some of the stuffs I've mentioned earlier, just like the tax audit, collection, and investigation. These three things are like confusing to others, so I'm going to give you some of the definition about it. That is talking about taxes. So, tax audit is examination of your tax return by IRS to verify that your income and deductions are accurate. When it comes to collection, the process of the government getting money from the people and business required to pay taxes and the amount of tax that the government get on this activity. This is like what the government gets from your. And investigation means processed by a tax authority in order to recover tax and charge in previous years of your assessment. So that I have mentioned all of the three. I hope that you will not get confused about it and stuff because yes, some of the definition of terms are really confusing. That's why I'm trying my best to actually give the definitions one by one. And tax audit, collection, and investigation are some of the most difficult things to actually know. And I hope you get that. The Bureau's organizational setup expanded beginning 1956 in line with the regionalization scheme of the government. Consequently, the Bureau's regional offices increased to 8 and later into 10 in 1957. The accounting machine branch was also created in each regional office. In January 1957, the position of the title of the head of the Bureau was changed from collector to commissioner. The last collector and the first commissioner of the VIR was Jose Aranas. A significant step undertaken by the Bureau in 1958 was the establishment of Tax Census Division and the corresponding Tax Census Unit for each regional office. This was done to consolidate all statements of assets, incomes, and liabilities of all individuals and resident corporations in the Philippines into a national tax census. To strictly enforce the payment of taxes to further discourage tax evasion, RA number 233 or the Reward Law was passed in June 19, 1959, whereby informers were rewarded the 25% equivalent of the revenue collected from the tax invaders. In 1964, Philippines was redivided anew into 15 regions and 72 inspection districts. The Tobacco Inspection Board and accountable for were also created directly under the Office of the Commissioner. Hi, so that was the last part of my report, and I hope you get something from it. And I hope that you know how taxations evolved from the Philippines during the Japanese and post war era and the evolution of how taxes were and the divisions of offices during that year or that era. And I hope you get something or get a lesson from it. And once again, I'm John Benedict Ebel from BS Ed. Thank you.